So, hi guys, this is Lou Martin with my perspicacious friend, and irrepressible pixie, soul healer of the first order, MJ Halligan. Hi, MJ.
Hi, Lou. Thanks for inviting me on. Delighted to be here with you.
Thank you, darling.
Combo.
Yes. We're managing great. So, people who don't know you, give us a little bit about who you are and why we're going to chat with you today and what's happening.
Yeah, well, the topic was inner alchemy. So I feel like for many of us, our whole life has been dedicated to inner transformation and alchemy. And, you know, in 2020, it's reached this pivotal moment of going, oh, okay, I get it. I really get it on a whole other level of everything that this has been about from that soul perspective. Yeah.
Yes. So it's you're an inner alchemist of long standing, I would say.
Yeah, I guess so.
Lifelong.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Well, it just comes to mind, you know, even when I got readings years ago, and I'm talking about years ago, and this is even or maybe the early days of my awakening, or even when I get readings, you know, often, even when things were really challenging for me and I didn't feel exactly that spectacular in myself or magical or gifted or special, but the readings I would get would always be reflecting that I'm this magical magician kind of energy and magical manifester, you know, and I didn't really quite understand what that all was about back then. But since that, I've definitely come to understand, become more aware of what it really is to alchemize our life from the inner outer, and how we are absolutely that transformative, say force, but we are that transformative shift of consciousness and beingness that can absolutely, through our vibration and frequency, create a completely uplifted heavenly experience on earth, and just truly that we get to create heaven or hell, basically, you know, according to what we're willing to alchemize within ourselves, or we're unwilling to alchemize within ourselves. And that's
right.
a choice point that we're all at. Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. Yeah. So what's it's great, honey. You do a lot of work with people. Tell people the modalities that you kind of work in these days.
Yeah. Well, maybe, how about I give a brief overview of my healing journey, we'll say, or my health journey, which is something I want to talk about more.
Okay.
And this is just for me, but this is a pathway, we'll say, of my awakening, healing, health journey, reclamation of self journey, whatever discovery of self, which is what we're all on this planet to do. And through, you know, through ill health, of course, or dissonance within ourself is a good way to do that, right? So for me,
gets your attention, yes.
Gets your attention, discomfort in the body, pain, discomfort, whether it's in the body or relationship or financial. Yes, exactly. These pain points gets our attention, and we can be, you know, we can be really taken over by them, victimized by them, or we can shift that perspective and go, okay, where's this journey wanted me to go, in a sense, or where is a new choice I can make that I wouldn't have been willing to make otherwise. So for me, that began 15 years ago, about approx. And how that began was on a very physical level. I'd come back from India, so I had got into yoga, meditation a bit, just kind of early days with that. But I came back with Giardia, Delhi belly, the famous Delhi belly. And of course, I returned to Ireland at the time. Of course, I've grown up in Ireland. I left when I was 19, went to the Channel Islands, Jersey, and then did some travel from there. So anyways, came back from India.
Quite a bit of travel from there, I'd say, yeah?
Yeah, quite a bit of travel, quite a few adventures before I came to New Zealand. So currently I'm in New Zealand, for anyone who is interested in that, on the South Island. I run a wellness retreat and holistic day spa. And so 15 years ago is the start of this journey through my own health journey. And so with that Giardia, of course, what do I do when I'm in Ireland? Because I grew up with the medical system, I go to the doctor, I get a prescription, and I'm on antibiotics. So that kind of helped for a little bit. Back at that stage, I didn't even know about taking probiotics. I didn't understand about the gut. I didn't understand about my health. So what I share is, you know, I grew up in Ireland to understand everything about drinking alcohol and very little about true health and empowerment. So I grew up with the medical system. Both parents were on a concoction of different medications. So I grew up absolutely believing in the medical system because I didn't have other options. I didn't know about other options, to be quite honest.
Sure, honey,
and
sure.
I remember feeling the placebo effect of absolutely believing that the doctor had my answer. So here I was again 15 years ago in the same predicament, you know.
Okay.
So I took the antibiotics, and that was fine. It helped a bit. But, you know, gradually I started going back to the alcohol because that's what we tend to do in Ireland. It's a social thing, which has a lot of beauty in it, but also it can sway us away from a deeper empowerment, especially around.
Well, it can be quite addictive, my friend. Let's just be very simple about it. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was that, and then we returned to Jersey, myself and my partner Steve, and I kind of went back to what I call regular life. So India is such a profound experience. It was a very spiritually enlightening experience in terms of, I got introduced to meditation, a 10-day Vipassana course. I got introduced to yoga, a 10-day yoga retreat, like a proper yoga. I'd only done hot yoga before then, Ashtanga, by the Ganga in Rishikesh, it was these pivotal, insightful experiences, just witnessing such a level of dedication and spirituality, because they tend to lead with that more feminine, spiritual heart and devotion in India, which is just fascinating to witness. And then I'm back in the Western world. So how to adapt back into that Western world again, which was interesting to say the least. So we're back in England, in Jersey, in the Channel Islands. So getting work, getting a house, you know, the usual. I'm kind of going back into the alcohol and the partying because that's what people do. That's who my group of friends were doing.
Sure, honey,
so I'm kind of doing my best to adapt back into that. The good stuff starts coming up again. I go back to the doctor, don't I? I get another round of antibiotics. Halfway through this round of antibiotics, I got these incredible pains in my gut. And I just knew in that moment, I can't keep doing this. This is not working for me. And that was the first moment that I decided to go to an alternative practitioner and invest my money, because that was another big thing of growing up in Ireland for me. My family had a medical card system, so we got the prescription free. We didn't even pay for it. So I was completely not used to paying for investing in health. I had no concept of really investing in my health. So it was a huge thing for me to spend my well-earned money and pay whatever, it might have been £50 at the time or whatever it was, and go to this alternative practitioner. And that was the beginning of it for me. And of course, I got these blood tests done, realized that I had leaky gut, I had candida, I had all these issues, and IBS, and you know, I just realized I was clueless. I had no idea how to take care of my health, my physical health, and put it all together. So that was the beginning. I ended up working in a health shop. I ended up getting into nutrition big time. So I went on that journey, which was a fabulous journey. I was doing cleanses, I was doing fasts, I was kind of soaking up all this information that I was really excited about, you know. So I went on that bandwagon, if you want. However, what also happened, which was really fascinating, and the reason I'm telling my journey, by the way, because it collates to everything I've accumulated within what I do in my retreat, you know, is direct experience. So I use my own story to relate that. So that was a very physical part for me.
Yes.
To understand how to take care of the physical body. Of course, yoga was there as well, meditation, but I still had no idea, even in meditation, I had no idea of energy or you know, a real connection. And the next stage for me was that I was trying so desperately to do everything right. So I'd read more books. I'd try and eat, you know, I would try to adapt to whatever that book was telling me about the latest eating style, or you separate this food or that food. And I mean, I couldn't drink water 20 minutes before a meal. I couldn't drink water 20 minutes after a meal. I had all these rules of this is good and that is bad. And of course, what I didn't realize is that I had become so judgmental about food, about a smoky area, about alcohol, you know. And so I had a lot of a lot of rules all of a sudden and became very
Yes.
regimented.
Yes,
Which was,
I like to say, MJ, there's no one more fanatical than the converted.
yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, and what's the cosmic joke for me is that I went to India and spent 5 months, and I would not allow anyone to become my guru. I was very wary, a lot because of the religious stuff. I was very wary of spirituality, and then somehow I made the books my guru, and I didn't realize at the time. But of course, I believed everything they said, because deep down my self-esteem was like, well, you know, if they've written a book, they must know everything. They know more than me.
Of course.
Right. So that's where I was at that stage of my journey. And then,
Bless you. Yes, dear.
yeah. And so what happened was, you know, we'll say the pendulum over here, alcohol, partying, the gut stuff, not really knowing how to take care of myself or eat well and all that. So then discovering, oh, nutrition, learning about stress, learning about, yeah, just more balance in life, especially on the physical level. And, you know, getting into raw food and all this kind of stuff. So I was one of the ones that would read the backs of packages. You know, I was at that stage of reading the backs of packages, and then there'd be another thing that I couldn't eat, or I'd be intolerant to, or whatever. And
Sure.
then the pendulum swung all the way over here, whereas
Right.
everything I was trying to do to help myself actually had swung too far over here, where it became so regimented and mental that I had gone past the midpoint, we'll say the balancing point, and I had turned it into a job that I could never fully achieve or never fully feel good enough about, because I always made a mistake or I never quite crossed the line. So that was that. Then I discovered something called access consciousness. And that helped me see the mental component, the mental context, the power of the mind on the body. So that was the next part of my journey. And I literally shifted within 5 days. I literally shifted my health by releasing the mental programming or constructs, judgment that I had myself under. So when I did this access consciousness foundational level, it just blew my mind, literally blew my consciousness out from the stuck places I was, which is the prison of the mind, right? Which I hadn't realized that I had got myself so deeply into. Because before that, I never really had a lot of judgment about things. I could always see things from different perspectives. So somehow reading all these books and making them the master over me, or trusting them more than trusting myself, I had got myself into this incredible prison within my own mind. So 5 days of access consciousness, lots of clearing statements, bars. I don't know if you've heard of them, but that really helped.
I've had it. I've done that. Yes.
Yeah. So I really got into that for a while, and that really, and really what I realized after 5 days, after all the judgment and all the right and the wrong and the good and the bad that I had, you know, programmed myself into, had dissipated. It was like, oh, there I am. And what I hadn't realized is that I had no joy. I was having no joy in the journey, because I turned it into a job, and I forgot to listen to me and my body and to go with what was joyful. So it brought me back to my joy, so much so that within days, my friend said, you got your sparkle back.
Great.
That was incredible. So that was the physical level. So I've gone through the physical level. I've gone through the mental level of going, wow, the power of the mind body. So that was my own personal story to go, whoa, this isn't a concept. This isn't a theory. This is, you know, this is wow, you know. So this is the way I've taken, my soul has taken me through learning about these things. And then the next stage for me was really, I would call my spiritual awakening, which was 10 years ago with the Kundalini awakening, and really accessing my higher self and going, whoa, you know, and really getting the sense, and again, going beyond concepts, because I was learning about this stuff, but that Kundalini awakening is like, oh, this is the reality, not the small egoic identity with all its problems and issues and worries and fears and all the rest of it. So having that expanded experience, in my case, prepared me to have the physical, the mental awareness, and the spiritual awareness to the power of the mind, basically, and how we create from our thoughts and beliefs and attitudes. Start kind of taking a handle on that, law of attraction, all of that stuff. So those three for me needed to be in place before I could really come back down into my earth body and really be with the emotional levels. and the energetic, emotional, inner child stuff, and start to really feel. And that's, to me, is really the crux of the inner alchemy, is to come back and be with ourself, to truly face ourself, and to be with everything that hasn't been processed, everything that hasn't been embraced, everything that hasn't been accepted, everything that we didn't have the capacity or the support or whatever to be present with that in a healthy way, in a healthy, grounded way. And so that's really been the latter years. And so through that journey, just going back to your question, of course, yoga is a huge part of the journey, meditation, so many modalities, quantum healing hypnosis technique, the Dolores Cannon method, trained with her in 2013, 2014, before she died, just a few months before she died. You know, Reiki, angelic Reiki, reconnection. I did that with Eric Pearl. Obviously the access conscious stuff I used to do. I really have to look at my wall. I've got a lot of certs. Massage, I haven't even mentioned massage. People go, oh, you've got this cert and that cert. And I'm like, oh yeah, I do. So, you know, of course the trainings are all there, but of course it was always about my own reclamation and within myself and discovery. And so I call it my fancy wallpaper, but yeah, I've done a lot of different trainings in massage, energy work, and the quantum healing hypnosis has been so beautiful. I love having that tool, because the reason I love it so much is because it's a way for people to go in within themselves and have those realizations. If it's visit a past life, or if it's the inner child, or it's the higher self, or galactic beings, or angels, or whatever it is, that people can have that visceral, energetic awareness, absolute knowingness, shift of consciousness experience within themselves, rather than somebody on the outside kind of doing that for them. So I'm all about empowerment, because I've had to discover and learn how to empower myself. And yeah, and somehow out of all of that, I've created a beautiful wellness retreat and holistic day spa, and I train people in massage now as well, because I'm really passionate about empowering empathic people who are energetically sensitive, like myself, when I didn't really understand all this. And I know that it can be, you know, it can be such a painful experience when we're not empowered in the gift that we have. And then once you become empowered, it really becomes this incredible gift of mastery, I would say, and gift of being an amazing conduit for grace and for possibility and for expansion, when we can discern what's ours and just kind of put it in the background and come to things on a more energetic level, I guess, rather than get caught in the stories in our head and the conditioning in our minds.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bless
any
you.
Questions on any of that?
Yes, I'm sure I might have one or two here if I have a moment to think about it. But I guess what's coming to my mind, my friend, is I saw you did some really heartfelt, vulnerable videos over the last month or so, and you were very, very open and honest and beautiful about your own overcoming your own fears and loneliness and overwhelm and things like this. So I'm just thinking, in terms of, if you want to talk about any of those journeys, here, but also in terms of just like your own personal map for what's unfolding on the planet energetically, in terms of people's healing and awakening as well.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks for asking that. So my doggie's just looking to get in. She wants her breakfast. 1 second, Magica, I'll be with you in a few minutes. That's me talking to my doggie. So yeah, so those videos that I put on Facebook, very guided from my heart. And I guess like yourself, and many of us, we have been doing this work for so long and have that more expanded state of awareness, that in a way, it's like my divine self, my soul self is offering whatever on that very visceral, human, authentic level that comes up. Does that make sense? Because it's one thing I realized through those videos as well is, you know, because even part of my own psyche and consciousness is going, or my ego especially, or, you know, is like, why do I have to go on video and make these videos? You know, it's like, you know, why am I the one that goes on there and kind of really exposes my deepest wound? And so it's just for anybody who might be curious, the first video I did was about rejection. And I guess, you know, and it's such a core place within us and within the ego and within the inner child, you know, and that realization that fear of rejection really is a big part of why we're so afraid to jump on camera, or we're so afraid to speak our truth, or we're so afraid to trust ourselves, or, you know, we want to be accepted by the outer world, etc., etc. And that's how we get conditioned as children. So to face that wound of rejection was huge, and you could see it on the video. It was very visceral. It was very real. It was very
vulnerable,
poignant.
Vulnerable, dear.
Yeah, very vulnerable, very exposing, very vulnerable, but but in that was so much connection, right? So much honesty, and so much possibility as well, and taking a chance to go on camera and move through that. And, you know, that's, you know, to have the courage to be willing to do that has to come from a bigger place. You know what I mean? The presence that holds that space for me to be the one to walk myself through that, you know, which is exactly what I was demonstrating in the video as well, you know. So that was the rejection was the first piece. Then I did another video the next day, which was really showing that our freedom is on the other side of that, when we're willing to have the courage to be vulnerable and to expose ourselves to ourselves. Not that anybody else has to jump on camera, but just to be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and just be with that part that is feeling rejected, that is feeling that is so fearful of getting it wrong, or whatever that is, and have that dialogue, you know, and feel those tears. And of course I've done that many times, you know, as mirror work. I find that incredibly powerful, because the eyes don't lie. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, the soul, and to hold space for those wounded parts of myself, so that to give them a voice. I've even been doing it this week, Lou, because the energies have been big this week, right? The purging has been big this week. So there's been another level of that where I've had to, take myself to the mirror and really speak to what was coming up. And that's often the duality, you know, and it's the shadow, you know, a lot of the purging is the shadow, right? So we're purging our own shadow.
Sure.
So to be with that, to give voice to that which hasn't had a voice. And it's incredibly alchemizing and transformational. And that was really what that was about, that video, to be a demonstration, very deep, profound, vulnerable, courageous demonstration that we can move through this. We can do it. If I can do it, anyone watching can do it.
Bless you. Well, I thought it was really beautiful, and I really loved you for it. And you know, I mean, I think that as you're saying, hon, if we can accept ourselves, you know, then we can be vulnerable with each other, and we can find that courage to be human, you know, and share our hopes and fears and worries and anxieties and dreads and regrets and judgments and all of it. And, you know, still love and accept ourselves, and hold that space to love and accept each other. And it was extremely brave and beautiful, I'll say again. And I really appreciated your courage to do that and to share that with everyone. And like you're saying, honey, you know, we're all riding these waves of energy now that are really so huge and so intense. And whether people are really going through life-threatening situations, or there's just that collective energy of the possibility of facing life and death, or great uncertainty, or great personal pain or struggle, grief, loss, illness, all of that, you know, it is quite different this year, clearly, from the lives we were living, you know, up until this year began. So, you know, I just wanted to really connect with you because of all this, and because we hadn't talked for a while, and just you know, as I say again, MJ, get a sense of what your personal compass is about the future, the rest of the year, the energies that we're moving through. I also want to talk about the balancing energies of men and women, masculine, feminine. You know, if you want to talk about any of that and how you're seeing that in your work with your clients and in yourself.
Yeah. Where to go with all that? That's a lot.
Well, you know, I've been saving it up. I've been saving it up since we started here. This is my chance to say something.
I'll do my best to simplify it. When we bring it back to energy, when we bring it back to energy, there is a beautiful simplicity to it. Now, the complexity is everything that we have put on top of that, with all our stories, with all our resistance, with all our egoic unwillingness to change, to trust ourselves, to move from the heart, to be on this journey. For a lot of people, the guidance is there, and there's been a great unwillingness. So sometimes I found myself, especially lately with clients who come on retreat here, we do many different kinds of retreats here: detox, yoga, meditation, healing, quantum wellness. And often I'll say to them, with so much love and compassion for myself, as well as for them, as well as for our humanity, is humanity goes, why would God do this to us? Or why does life have to be so hard? Like, for example, I had a lady who, you know, I really spoke to her authentically. She'd lost her partner just a few weeks ago in a car crash. And she was pissed. She's angry deep down. She's sad and grieving. But they had a plan. They had a plan. They had a very clear plan, you know, and that plan got disrupted. Do you think she is pissed at the universe? Of course she is. And she deserves to be, you know, of course. So what will it take for the ego, for our beautiful, beautiful ego, to let go of the grip on the reality, of the grip on what it needs to feel safe, validated, comfortable? You know, really it's about being comfortable. Life is gone, let go. And the tendency of our ego is these claws, and we're, you know, because of course it's afraid ultimately of going out of existence, of death, you know, and there's and then you have to look at the psyche and all the programming and all the conditioning around all that, the trauma, the wounding, whatever it is, you know, the belief systems, and that's what's getting it's also stuck, the energy that wants to move. Because whether we're choosing to let it be easy and move with it, it's happening, as we all know. And in 2020, it's becoming so apparent that if we keep gripping, we're going to suffer. There's going to be suffering, you know? And what will it take to exhaust us, to exhaust the egoic part of us, to finally let go? Just like death. When death comes, we're going to have to, it's a given. It's a transition.
There's no fighting that. There's no way to win.
And people do. I've seen it to my own father in Ireland. I've seen it because of religious stuff. And one of the last things I said to my own father in a nursing home a few years ago was, I said, give up the fight, Dad. Give up the fight.
Right, honey.
Let it go. Let it go. You know? He's still fighting because he's so afraid. He's so afraid. Is there an afterlife? Is there heaven and hell? And so full of the guilt and the shame and the programming and the conditioning, you know? So I watched him even try to fight death, you know? And it's like, let it go, you know? And it's totally understandable, so much compassion, but we're getting in our own way. And I watch myself get in my own way, you know? So that's of course how we have compassion for our beautiful humanity.
Sure. Yes, darling. But in fairness, you know, you do have the courage and the willingness and the faith, you know, to face your own fears. I mean, this, like you're saying, this is my experience of this year as well, is, you know, to keep being willing to dig deeper and to surrender more fully and completely. And, you know, then to act on the inspirations, the synchronicities, you know, the opportunities, etc. that come from life, you know, and make friends with life. Let life be my best friend, and be my lover and my guide and my companion. And, you know, when my ego gets in the way, my fears and my agenda, my judgments get in the way, you know, a willingness to keep working with them and working through them. And as you're saying, honey, to surrender them, to consciously release them, and realize I don't know, you know, and I can't control. And it's not my job to know and control all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And if say if, but like one part is going to say if you haven't done any personal work, I can see how that would be so confronting and challenging.
Sure,
if you don't have
sure.
some kind of a framework or support network. And then at the same time,
That's right.
I'm also having people come to me for quantum healing hypnosis sessions that are having such in-depth shift of consciousness within that session,
Yes.
that they get it. They get it. Like,
Sure.
I'll give you a great example. I had a guy just a few weeks ago come on a retreat, a young guy, 30. He was having a lot of challenges. Early life, you know, he'd end up in prison for drugs and different things, but he was,
Wow.
you know, but he'd really kind of turned himself around. Actually, his family was Irish as well. And he came just for a detox retreat, but I ended up sharing what the quantum healing hypnosis was, and he had a session. And within the session, he got it. And he's like, oh, the whole problem with life, it's a misunderstanding. He got
that's
it.
right.
He had misunderstood life. And of course, what's
That's
that misunderstanding?
brilliant.
Yeah. He would hardly even let me ask any questions, because he's like, my questions don't matter now. I get it. I get how it works. And of course, you know, it can be challenging to verbalize what that getting is, because it's such a profound consciousness, awareness, knowingness level. However, my translation of his gettingness is that he realized deep within himself that it's not about trying to change the outer world. All he has to do is that the universe is within him. As he shifts his energy, he can create whatever kind of world he wants on the outside. And I guess, you know, that's a lot of what the challenge of the outer world. It's not so pretty anymore. It's disturbing. It's uncomfortable. It's this, it's that. It can take us, it can wang us around when we have no sense of center. So then it makes it more important and urgent to come back to center and to get to know ourselves and to come back in. So in a way, all of this is at the same time inviting us so deeply to come home to the self and to get to know ourselves and to create a safe place within ourselves, beyond all the commotion on the outside, beyond who's right and who's wrong and all the duality and all the sides and all the stuff that really can just be a head mess up, as we all know. You know, and I'm not saying there's not a place to have an awareness of things. An awareness of things is very different, you know. But ultimately, the greatest shift that we have to make is to really come back and own our own shadow and our own light. So you're talking about, you know, masculine, feminine as well. You know, we have been extremely masculine on this planet. We have been extremely conditioned into the patriarchal, the externalized experience of ourselves. And so what's looking to happen, of course, is to balance it with the feminine, with the heart energy, to come home into that deeper sense of sensitivity, connectivity, intuition, guidance, listening, slowing down, stillness, so that the more we slow down, of course, what's so beautiful is the more we expand our awareness. So the deeper in we go, the more expanded we become into this greater sense of who we are.
Beautiful.
So fabulous and so beautiful.
Brilliant. That was wonderful. Yes, I mean, of course I agree with you 100%, my friend. It's the theme has been learning to live from the inside out and not just the outside in, you know. As you said, again, I mean, what I want to say here, sweetie, as a healer, you know, and as a teacher, and as a spirit guide to your clients and your students, and all of that, you know, your willingness to do the work and be completely naked and vulnerable and open, you know, it just you know, really you know, creates that field of possibilities in your life, and you share that with us so generously. I say again, you know, that's what gives everyone that greater permission to be vulnerable, to be human, to feel and accept and express our feelings. You know, and yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that this really, it's like a crucible. You know, we're in the fire of transformation, and everything that isn't coming with us needs to be surrendered at some point, as we were saying earlier. And as you know, we spoke about attachment and control, and the patriarchy and the mind and the ego and all that. You know, that is all just being unraveled. You know, because it's no longer helpful, necessary, or really of use in the same way that it used to be, you know. And it's not that we need to, you know, destroy our sense of who we are. We need to expand our sense of who we are, as you were saying, you know, and that can only come through real authenticity, which is emotional vulnerability. And like your clients, you know, a willingness to change our minds about what the meaning of our life might be, you know, to be open to that, to learn what that is rather than think we know what that is.
And I'll just one of the little point that just popped into my mind as you were speaking is, in the old way, we're used to getting energy from the outside world. And when we come back to ourselves, we realize that we are the source. So we don't need, we stop being needy beings, desperate needy beings. So even this week, I've had to be with the part of me that's desperate, needy, and look at that part of me and give to that part and love that part and hold that part in love and compassion.
Beautiful.
You know, because
yep.
ultimately the greater empowerment is, yeah, when we become less needy on this planet and we become the source points of creation.
Yeah.
All of this can shift in nanoseconds if we can come back to ourselves and take greater self-responsibility and self-regulate our own energy through using these beautiful faculties of body, mind, emotionality, frequency, vibration, of course.
Yes. Well, I mean, both of us, that's beautiful. You know, both of us had the grace of the Kundalini awakening, and you know, people that haven't had the experience, it's a brilliant reminder of what's possible, you know, and it's isn't it? And it's a reintegration with a bigger perspective of who we are. And yet, just like you're saying, I mean, I want to raise my hand too. I still have the same fears and doubts and worries and concerns, you know. And what I find is that the measurement of my own personal growth at this point is my willingness to be honest about that, to look at that, to work with that, to sit with that, to not push it away or distract myself from it by watching something or whatever. Just be with these things as they arise, and, you know, let them teach me, let them talk to me, let me see it more deeply and go, oh, I messed up here, or oh, I didn't really clean that up yet, or wow, I forgot that I had done that or didn't do that, whatever it was, you know. And it's like you're saying, honey, there's just a profound sense of the need for deeper integrity, you know, from all of us, that our inner and outer self are in alignment, you know, and then we can live from that overflow, or that be a blessing, or bless the situation, or be grateful, or live in that appreciation, you know, no matter what's happening or isn't happening. I can still be grateful that I'm alive, that I have the opportunity to grow and learn and heal and share and inspire others. And, you know, whatever I'm appreciating, that takes me out of that needy, desperate, fearful, confused space that you were talking about that all of us relate to. And, you know, it's the ability to be able to make that shift, to first of all, recognize what's happening, realize that I'm out of center, and then do what I do, prayer, meditation, etc., to come back into a place of peace. And then things change. Like you say, then the door opens up from within, and, you know, synchronicities and miracles start flowing again.
Absolutely. So the like the energies the last week, so they're the energies that are coming, right? I'm sure you've been hearing about it as well. These new frequencies and energies that have been coming to the planet, they're more refined, and they go into the earth and they push up any unresolved energy that's been held in our cellular memory, and they push it up for review. So that's all that's happening. So there's nothing bad, there's nothing wrong.
Sure,
you know,
that's right.
It's just,
yes,
it's up because it hasn't been brought back to pure
sure.
love, pure
Sure.
compassion, pure insight,
Right.
pure awareness.
Yes.
You know, it hasn't been truly fully acknowledged on the level that it needs that acknowledgement, or held in that
Right.
deep presence, you know.
Right.
And so that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity we're
Yes.
giving ourselves through these. So
Sure.
the more we can, just as you said, not distract ourselves and do the avoidance thing, which is turn the TV or turn the social media or whatever it is, and move and turn away from it. So we reject. That's the whole pointing thing of my rejection video, is we actually reject ourselves. And that's what I talked about. I said, nobody can reject me, only myself. I'm the only one that can truly turn away from me. Or in these moments, and this is the reckoning, do I choose to turn towards myself in my greatest discomfort, in my greatest wretchedness, in my greatest desperation? Because ultimately that desperation and wretchedness ultimately only wants love, only wants consideration, only wants to know that it's okay. And
Sure,
it's never done anything wrong. Deep down.
Yes. Compassion, mercy, acceptance, understanding. I love what you're saying. Yes, I agree 100%. You know,
and once it has, then it can be released.
yes, that's right. Touche.
Resolved.
Well, both, I think, you know, because like you're saying, it's in my work right now, MJ, I say, look, here's the thing, folks, you got to come to peace. You're in crisis because you can't find peace, and you can't find peace because there are still things that you've done or haven't done that you're judging yourself about, that need your forgiveness. And when you can, and in order to do that, we need to take responsibility for our choices, because I can't forgive myself for something that I feel truly victimized and powerless about. I have to take my portion and say, for whatever reason, I invited this, I allowed this, I am a part of this creation, so I take responsibility for it. Then I can forgive myself. Then I can be forgiven. Then I can come back to peace. Then in peace, there's infinite possibilities, like you're saying. Then we can seed the new earth and create new lives that are rich and filled with meaning and possibility, that in hiding from ourselves and each other is an impossibility. We can't find that world.
Yeah. And by being with those uncomfortable emotions, and you touched into forgiveness, this is so important. And it's so important to really, I feel like, for more and more people to have more clarity, to know that forgiveness isn't about anyone else. Forgiveness is about letting yourself off the hook. It's about caring enough about yourself and loving yourself enough to actually let yourself off the hook of dragging around the past, around a past that of course has to keep recreating itself somehow, perpetuating that pattern, until eventually you'll go, I've had enough of this. I'm not doing this to myself anymore. This is making me miserable. This is stealing my energy. This is stealing my peace, exactly as you said. So when, you know, what's it going to take? Again, as I kind of talked about earlier, what's it going to take to be willing to forgive? What's it going to take to be willing to get uncomfortable? What's it going to take to be willing to turn towards ourselves and start to go on that journey rather than the distraction journey. And let's get angry at the world, which I'm not saying it's not a part of the journey, but eventually, you know, you can only do that for so long, and that'll drive you a bit cuckoo, and it doesn't really go anywhere. Because ultimately, it's about realizing, oh, I'm the change.
Yes.
I can only change myself.
Yes.
This is just trying to manipulate and whatever. This is an old paradigm, lower consciousness game. And I'm more than that, because that's who we are. And that's the beauty, as you said, the Kundalini awakening, because it gave that, whoa, okay, this is who I am, not the small me trying to micromanage and to get things my way, to be more comfortable, to get more love, to get more energy, you know, whatever that manipulation game is.
Yeah.
This is my projection. This is really who I am. And all that's required is for me to, whether we call it heal the parts of us that don't feel worthy and deserving to know that. Heal the parts of us that haven't been accepted enough or encouraged enough to allow for that level of self-responsibility and self-connection and self-creation. To allow us to really know the universal physics, which is vibration and physics. Vibration and frequency. So all we have to do is, unforgiveness is on a certain radio frequency, right? And it's holding us apart from our true source connection, uplifted vibration. And the more we carry it around, the more dense and the more things get packed into the unforgiveness bag, or resentment or anger or whatever it is. So when we're willing to forgive, we're willing to go, you know what, I'm done with that radio station. I'm so bored with this story going around. And I've been feeling a bit of this my week. That's exactly my words. I'm like, I'm really getting over this story, you know, am I done with it, you know? So it's another opportunity to go, am I done with it? And to start being willing to shift, do what I know to do, which is acknowledge whatever I need to acknowledge, have the tears, write in my journal, face myself in the mirror, have a deep conversation with whoever I need to have a deep conversation with, forgive, absolutely forgive, say sorry, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you, Ho'oponopono, a powerful, brilliant tool to go, you know, I'm taking myself onto this new frequency. We can call it the new earth, but I'm shifting radio station, I'm shifting earth frequency, because you know what? This is what I'm choosing, because I'm here to create heaven. I don't need to keep recreating hell. I'm here to create heaven.
Yes. Beautiful,
and I love me enough to do it. I love me enough to be willing to forgive and to let go.
Well, now that's the icing on the cake, my friends. It's funny you say that. I put a post up today. You know how we find these things and share these things. It was, tell me something you love about yourself. And, you know, like 40 people responded with, you know, statements of what they loved about themselves. And I was like, this is great. This is lovely. This is a wonderful thing. You know, the people are so willing to not only be in touch with themselves, you know, in such a beautiful way, but are happy to share it with people on my page and whatnot. And I thought, wow, I'm going to keep this going, because I haven't seen this before. So I posted it again, and I just feel like, wow, this is kind of a beautiful new discovery that, because it's like you're saying, MJ, you know, my guides say, people, we need to feel safe, loved, and supported. Those are our emotional needs every day. And in order to express anything, to release anything, we need to feel safe enough, strong enough, and free enough. So, of course, safety is, you know, always the first thing you and I create when working with clients, is that space of, you know, you can trust me. I know what I'm doing here. We're going to go slow. I'm listening to you. I'm responding to you. I'm respecting to you. I'm grateful for this opportunity. My heart is open to you. All these things that we say in some way or act out in some way that helps people, you know, open up into their deep self and settle into themselves. And I chatted actually today with a chap from Amsterdam, who's a lovely chap named Robert, who I might connect the two of you. But he's a very gifted intuitive healer that's been working for years. And he's just this year opened up to doing work with light language. And I thought, well, that doesn't really do much for me so far. I've heard people do it. Anyway, long story short, he did it with me and it was quite powerful. And I'm like, okay, that's good, but we were talking about, he and I, and I'm sure you'll relate to this, hon, that, there just seems to be like a real acceleration now on the part of teachers and healers, that we're being upgraded with a lot of information and energy and connection with the world in a new way right now, which is very powerful.
Yeah. Personally, I'm being guided to, and this has been the challenge of my own ego, and just really been seeing for any attachment that I've had to really, as I said, up in the air, and really look at anywhere I've even got attached to who I thought I was in the last few years, even around being a retreat facilitator, and and so that's all been up, really going, okay, can you let all that go? So I've really had to look at the willingness to let it all go, to create again, to choose again.
Sure.
To know
I relate to that.
To know myself newly in this now moment.
Yeah.
So it's very, it's like we're being really asked to let go of all stories, even if we think they're a more enlightening story, or current story.
Even if they're a damn good story. Yeah. That's such a damn good story, though. Yeah.
And it feels like, and I guess it feels like, to me, just like what you're saying, the quickening. It's like, because our higher self, our more expanded self, or whether we call it our future self, there's an upcoming event, right? There's an upcoming momentum that's happening. So we're being prepared. We're being prepared.
Yes.
For the level of us
I believe
that is. Yeah, for the level of us that's coming on board, that really needs to, well, I say really needs, but you know what I mean, is a very clarified version of us, if that makes sense, clarified energetically. Yes. So when you talked about earlier creating a safe space, for me, that has to be felt energetically, whether people are aware or not. I don't think there's, especially as things go forward, people are absolutely looking for the safe space. It's got to be a feeling, because people are becoming more sensitive to the environment. So it's not about words. It's not about on the outside. People are they feeling that, and I can feel when that shift happens with people around me. And sometimes that's where I'm guided to tell a little bit of my story, or a little bit of this, or a little bit of that. I get guided. These stories pop into my mind, as I'm sure they do to you, and I get guided or sometimes I get guided, like, for example, with that lady who lost her partner, to say things that nobody else would say, like, yeah, you're fucking pissed, and you have every right to be pissed, to speak to what isn't being spoken. So you have to be quite a clear conduit to be able to be that available, to the highest potential in any now moment. And I guess that would be a great reference for why it is so urgent, if you like, or it's so now that we get to do the clean out. We get to do the little, you're doing the autumn clean, I'm doing the spring clean here in New Zealand.
Yes.
Of our own energy skills.
Yes, that's right, honey. I relate to that. That was beautiful. I mean, to me, what that brings up is trust, and as my guides say, what can you trust more than your deepest truth? But like you're saying, we're human. We don't always know what our deepest truth is. We've lied to ourselves, or we've done something that we can't face, or we're afraid of someone, or afraid of something, or we're in denial about something, or we're addicted to something, etc. Whatever it might be, there's I was listening to Cynthia Bourget, who's this 70-year-old centering prayer teacher who's very interesting. My housemate turned me on to her, and I've been sitting twice a day in silence for 20 minutes for the last month doing these exercises, which have been very grounding, as you might imagine, and very, very helpful, and have quieted my mind down quite a bit, I think. But like you're saying, to come back to your point about vibration and energy, and when that shift happens in talking to someone or listening to someone or being with someone, as you say, it's getting more powerful, it's getting louder, it's getting more important to pay attention to those signals, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing that came up as well that I didn't quite mention is nature. So for me, a biggie is being in nature, because there's nothing like nature to bring us back to 0 point field. I hug the trees, I ask them to share their wisdom with me, and they help me understand what it is to be grounded in the body, to come out of anxieties when they have those moments. I mean, they always teach me something, you know. It's profound and simple and brilliant and practical, but also just touching back to these uncomfortable stuff that comes up and clearing our own energy field, and why it's so important as well for being the beingness that we're here to be, is when we can truly
wait a minute, can I write that sentence down? Being the beingness that we're here to be. Okay, good, got it. Yeah. Carry on.
Being the pureness of the beingness that we're here to be is ultimately pure awareness. It's all just an experience, right? All of this stuff is an experience. We know on the human level, it can feel so intense and get caught in the mind, in the story, in the dualities, in all of it. Deep down, of course, it's just energy. It's just energy and expression, light and dark. So when we can truly embrace and not turn away from it and be with it and allow it to have resolution. And to me, resolution means be released out of our energetic field and that holding of good or bad, right or wrong, the judgment as you spoke about, and where it can be released to come back into the 0 point field of neutrality, of divine love, of absolutely isness. You know, we put words in it, acceptance, knowingness. Then it doesn't have us anymore. That's why I say what you don't own, what you don't own owns you. Once you own it doesn't own you anymore. So we become incredibly empowered, incredibly centered, and we allow for all of this. So we become deeper into that pure awareness, isness field of neutrality, and we get to be that presence, that possibility. For the greatest transformation and elevation for whoever comes into our environment. And that is the grace. That is the grace. That is the, beyond words.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's the divine grace of the presence of spirit that you're doing very well, that comes through us when we're completely surrendered and utterly available for it. Well, sweetheart, I think it's time for Uncle Lou to go to bed now, but this has been an absolutely brilliant conversation as always. And I love you madly, and it's wonderful to reconnect and see you again.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for the conversation. Yeah, it was beautiful. Really lovely to dive into these topics. It's, you know, I found myself saying lately, I just can't talk about anything mundane. Even a lot of the stuff going on in the world, even a lot of the stuff going on, you know, I have an awareness. I tune into things to have an awareness of things. It is important to have an awareness of things, not to be ignorant, not to ignore. You know, I tune into all the different topics that are out there. I'm very aware. Also, because if I get triggered, then that's something for me to look at and to do my inner work around, so that I can look at all of this and hold sacred space for all of it. It doesn't mean I have to keep looking at it.
Sure. No, I relate.
However, and then it's like, you know, I can feel more and more my energy just being interested in this conversation on consciousness and creativity and, you know, this empowerment of who we really are. And, you know, because of the energy, energy. So thank you so much for allowing me to tell some of my story, which is nearly like what led me. But then the other part of this conversation has been a very energizing, expansive communication and communion, which my heart is very grateful for. Thank you.
Sure, sweetie. You're very welcome. Bless you. Where can people find you if they're in the southern island of New Zealand and are mad to have more?
So my website is vibrantliving.co.nz, and my YouTube channel is Vibrant Living Wellness. And you may have come across, if you look at a lot of Lou's videos, I did interview Lou some time ago on my Stories of Awakening. So I have a Stories of Awakening 2020 Facebook page that I have now uploaded 18 Stories of Awakening, and I've done 2 Facebook Lives on there. So there's 20 videos of people sharing their amazing each one is completely unique perspective on a story of awakening, and many amazing topics. The latest one, I don't know, did you see it? I think you did actually, is about
yes, I
mental
just
illness
saw it briefly. Yes.
or awakening, you know, and just how the framework of how things are framed can create such a different experience for somebody. For one person, it can be seen as mental illness. For another person, with the right support, it can be really held as an absolute pathway container for the awakening journey. So I'm very excited to share these conversations and stories, and to really keep opening up the consciousness, opening up the conversation that allows greater accessibility and empowerment ultimately, and connection. So thank you, Lou.
Beautiful.
Thank you for being
Sure,
you.
sweetheart. Sure. Thank you, darling. MJ, do you have a YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, the YouTube is called Vibrant Living Wellness.
There we go. Okay, brilliant. Yes. All right. With that, my darling, I will talk to you soon. Keep up the rockin', rollin', wonderful good work that is your soul all day long. Bless you. And thank you. And my best to your man when he's around. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Steve. Yeah.
Steve,
All
thank
right.
you. Yes,
Thank you.
of course.
Much love.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right, you too.
Love.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye bye. Night night. Sweet dreams.